Moon Gang.
Hello. I hope everyone had a phenomenal weekend. What did I do this weekend? Penn State won. That was a good thing. The Phillies won, and I feel like I have to support them just because I support the Eagles. I'm not really the biggest baseball fan. So I want to talk actually a little bit about like historically how things play out when the Phillies win the World Series and maybe how we don't want that to happen, at least if you're bullish on the market. So some not so positive correlations there. We'll be talking about that. I ended up in Philly over the weekend. I was celebrating my girlfriend's grandmother's 80th birthday, which was awesome. She is quite the lady, always crazy stories. We were just sitting there and she was reminiscing on how like over the past 80 years of life, the insane things that she was seeing. She was like born basically during World War II. And then she saw like the entire evolution of TV. She saw the moon landing. I mean, all this crazy historic context like within one life. And it, in a weird way, makes me think in our lifetime, what are we going to see? People who are younger millennials like me, like just the ridiculous things we're going to see over the next, whatever, hopefully 50 years. LOL, girlfriend, whatever. Astros in 6. Okay, who do you think's going to end up? Who do you think's going to win the World Series? I'm betting on the Phillies. I mean, Hoskins. I think it's just Hoskins. Hoskins and Harper are just on fire. Matt, love the moist lips. Thank you. I had to just put on my coconut, whatever the hell this is. This is not the sponsor of today's video, but it might as well be. Burt's Bees. Coconut and pear. Not my favorite, but a solid one. Astro's going to take it. SD. Carlos, I have some bad news about San Diego. Some bad news. We're making crazy decisions this morning. Coconut and pear moisturizing lip balm. And then for whatever reason, I'm going with a lemon, like zesty kind of a tea. Hey, it just shows you how ridiculous things can get in by the time you get to the back half of October. It is a really like rainy, overcast, gloomy day here in Pennsylvania. Not ideal. And we're also getting to that time in the year when you wake up at your normal time and it's still pitch black out, like absolutely pitch black. And it's cold, and then you get up and you're like, I don't know, like I have to get ready for a stream, but you're afraid to check your positions because some of them are working, other ones aren't working. And then you open it up and you're like, I got to get it in the shower. But then you get caught doom scrolling about how China's market is right now on tilt because of reasons that we're going to get into. But basically, the president is making wild decisions right now, like really surrounding himself by loyalists. And maybe not the best decision, and at least that's how the market is interpreting it. Because if you're looking at what's going on in the Forex market, if you're looking at what's going on with stocks such as Neo, Baba, Baidu, they're all vomiting right now. So we're going to be talking about that. And then a little bit in another place on the globe, we have to talk about the UK. UK looks like they're going to get another prime minister announcement today. So Boris Johnson officially stepped out of that. So we'll be getting into who is the likely new prime minister representing the Tory party specifically. So we'll be talking about that. Then we have to talk about some statements from Thomas Petterfy from Interactive Brokers, some comments from the CEO of JP Morgan, I believe, not Bank of America. Yes, it is JP Morgan. Lots and lots to get into. But the TLDR version of it today is, even though everything is still insanely crazy, truly insane, people are looking at the Fed. And once again, you've probably heard this story again before, but you're going to hear it again. People are looking at the Fed and saying, seems like you might pivot. Seems like you might be as hawkish as people are talking about on the street. I had some murmurs. I heard some rumblings that you're really not that hawkish and you are a little bit more dovish. At least that's what the market collective is currently really thinking about. And because they're thinking about it, the market's starting to go up, especially because of a New York Times, a Wall Street Journal, and also some commentary from the San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly on Friday. Those three things all dropped on Friday, and that's why we had a crazy push to the upside, because everyone's starting to think, come January, maybe you're not going to be so hawkish. Maybe 2023 is the year of the doves. Do I necessarily agree with that? Not to the degree that we're seeing in the market, but it doesn't matter because you make money in the market by playing the current price action. So Friday, great green day. We'll be talking about all of that. And then also today, we're seeing a pretty decent gap up. And I wouldn't be that surprised if we see this continuation, especially if the market continues to believe that the Federal Reserve might not be so aggressive with their monetary policy. So as you can imagine, we have a lot to talk about. But before we get into all of it, we got to talk about Public. Shout out to today's stream sponsor and longtime partner of the Moon Gang community, Public. What I like so much about this, right out of the gate, no payment for order flow, no market makers. This is a brokerage you can trust. Historically, if you've been watching me for any amount of time, you know that there's certain brokers who have made very poor moral decisions. They lied to us, at least in my opinion and breakdown of the situation. They lied to us. This is a company that was built with the concept of, no, let's treat our clients the way clients should actually be treated. Let's put them ahead of just our bottom dollar line. And that's what I like so much about Public. No, they do not engage in payment for order flow. They do not engage with market makers. It's a brokerage that they get as many trades of yours to the lit exchanges, the lit market, as they possibly can. On top of that, there is some cool social media aspects. For example, you can see what I am invested in, what I'm not invested in. If you go to @Matt_Kohrs with my little duck caricature there, you'll see my AMC, my APE, my GME, my RUM, my SPY, my Tesla, the list goes on and on and on. So you can check out what your friends and family are also doing, what they're buying, what they're selling, what they're holding. So I think that's kind of cool. And right now, as a bonus, you'll get one stock when you sign up, valued anywhere from $300 to $300. But on top of that, depending on how much you transfer into Public, you can get up to $10,000, which is a pretty sweet offer. So make sure you check it out. And on top of that, if you're a little bit more into the world of crypto, arts, NFTs, collectibles, they're also now servicing that for all of their clients. This is pinned to the top of chat. This is in the description of the video. So if you want all of that here, I want to get it highlighted right here. I think I actually lost my pen. So I'll make sure. Yeah, now I see it in the top of the chat. It's also in the description of the video. So shout out to Public for sponsoring today's stream. And for all of you paying attention right now, check it out, click on it. Yeah, at least get some free stock. Now let's get into the craziness of the market, especially as we're putting the closing chapter on October. Dow futures rise slightly as Wall Street tries to build on its best week since June. We are going to the upside. I mean, Friday was a crazy good up day. I've had this trend line. Looks like we're gapping up above that. Just so you know, this means that there is an active downside gap fill play. Let me make this very evident. Let me delete some of these other lines so people are not getting confused about what I am and not calling out for. Let me get rid of this and get rid of that. Right here, we now have a downside gap fill play to 374.80. We're currently trading at 376.75. I do admit things are looking pretty bullish right now, but we also know the odds of these gap fill plays. Yes, on Friday, not yesterday, excuse me. Friday's high was 374.80, currently trading at 376.60, which means that there's a little bit less than a $2 potential gain, or really on however you want to play it. You could make way more on options. But this downside gap fill is going to be kind of my call out of the day, just because I really like those odds. Speaking of odds, over the past 100 years, the surest sign of an oncoming financial crisis has been the Philadelphia-based baseball team winning the World Series. 1929, the Athletics. 1980, the Phillies. 2008, the Phillies. 2022, we're about to find out. Now, this is a question for, I guess, all of my viewers. What would you rather, particularly my Philly fans? Would you rather the Phillies win and increasing the chance of financial unrest, or would you rather the Phillies lose and, okay, maybe more of a calm market? So I feel like, honestly, the opinion of our Philly fan base might surprise you, because I'm willing to bet that they're like, no, we would rather the victory and F the market. F the market. So if you're from Philly or just a Phillies fan, a sports fan in general, would love to get your opinion on it, because I think you guys would like, I think most Philly fans would be like, send the market to zero if it even increases the chances of us winning the World Series by 1%. Phillies fan base, they're on the same level, especially for my international viewers. Phillies fans are on the same level of like all of the soccer hooligan groups. Like Phillies fans, they are just a next level caliber of fandom. And it is scary if they identify you as an opponent or as an other. Hi fan, I'm Dad. Phillies money line, $1,000. Bill, I hope you crush that one. How can you even do magic with those tiny little arms? Wait, is a moderator making fun of my arms and how puny they are? Oh, geez. Oh, wait, what is this? Someone's just posting right now that we have some... Rumble announces the launch of its official merchandise store Monday, October 24th. Hey, that is today. Well, what's their store? I haven't seen this. Oh, you can get some Rumble shirts, some free speech, Rumble hats. I think this is the one that Steve Will Do It was wearing on the NASDAQ, this particular one. Oh, just so you guys know, and we'll talk about this maybe in the wrap-up show tonight, but I believe tomorrow is the day. Tuesday, October 25th is the day that Steve Will Do It, the guy who was erroneously kicked off of YouTube and not given his spot back, is making his return to the internet, and I'm sure it'll be something special. I truly have no idea what it is. I just believe it's at, I want to say 2 p.m. ET tomorrow is when Steve Will Do It makes his glorious return to the internet, so I'm here to see how it all plays out. Speaking of seeing how things play out, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. We've talked about people throwing tomato juice or soup or whatever the hell it was on a Van Gogh painting. We've talked about people, for some reason, gluing their hand to the floor in like a Porsche car show, and then they just left them there all night because it's stupid. And then they were complaining about them turning off the heat and not giving them food. Like, imagine that. Imagine your complaint when you trespass somewhere. You stage a whole scene, you glue yourself, and they're like, they're not being nice to us. Well, we have another one of these. Mashed potato attack on a $110 million Monet painting in Germany. $110 million, and they threw mashed potatoes on it. Mashed potatoes. Mashed potato attack. You hate when and then the security's like, wow, you're stupid. Why do they always go with the gluing themselves thing?
Menschen hungern. Menschen frieren. Menschen
people are starving. People are freezing. We are in a climate catastrophe.
Und alles, wovor ihr Angst habt,
and all of you are afraid of tomato soup, so they had to up it to mashed potatoes.
Wisst ihr, wovor ich Angst habe? Davor, dass die Wissenschaft sagt,
I love this.
dass wir 2050 unsere Familien nicht werden ernähren können. Braucht es Kartoffelbrei auf einem Gemälde?
Why did they put
damit wir
reflectors
zuhören?
on?
Dieses Gemälde wird nichts mehr wert sein, wenn wir uns um Essen streiten müssen. Wann ist der Punkt erreicht?
When will you finally start to listen?
Wann ist der Punkt erreicht?
I, for one,
Und nicht einfach so weitermachen.
Okay, yeah.
the question was asked, when will you finally listen? And I don't think that was rhetorical. I would happily answer that for all of us. I know I shouldn't, but I'll speak on behalf of the Moon Gang. None of us really cared too much about tomato soup. That just like wasn't the food-based political statement, social statement, eco-climate statement that really got us to resonate, to shake at our core with this particular cause. Then maybe a couple of you got even worse when you saw the car thing. You're like, feels like you're copying the first people, and that's a car. It's a little different. You didn't even destroy anything. Maybe you saw some stories, or I saw maybe TikToks or something of people spraying paint or some sort of orange crap outside of an Aston Martin, and they're like, this is also for it. I have to admit, it seemed like generally none of us agreed with it. And we're just like, what are you doing? It sounds like you're finding out through way of effing around. You were effing around and you finally found out. But I think on behalf of the Moon Gang, they're speaking now in a language we understand. Here in the Moon Gang, we didn't get Kohrs. We didn't get fruit-based soup. But we get mashed potatoes. If there's one thing that the Moon Gang understands, it's when you start speaking to us in terms of our favorite starch, especially in mashed form, we start to listen. And I think we could all truly say that we're on their side now. They have a good point. When you put mashed potatoes on a $110 million piece of historic art, I'm now on their side. I don't even know what they're fighting for, but I'm fighting for them. The only thing I wouldn't stand shoulder to shoulder with them at is like if they're trying to like, I don't know, do like a whole nother potato famine or something like that. But as long as it's not like ruining any more potatoes, sign me up. Like if there's a sign, someone sign me the sign up sheet and I will be right there. Hong Kong stocks tanked to 14-year low as re-elected Xi reshuffle sparks worries about China's economic recovery. Talk about a segue. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys have consumed quite a bit of content in many different forms, from the shortest TikToks to the longest docuseries. Have you ever seen a transition like that? I don't think anyone... Did I just make a new record? A new record of the most seamless transition? I don't think there's another content creator out there that can just go straight from a potato-based story to a country's economy collapsing. Moil them, bash them, stick them in a stew. Anyway, Hong Kong stocks tanked to a 1.5 decade year low. Here's what you need to know, because right now, Alibaba vomiting, NIO vomiting, Baidu vomiting. Stocks in Hong Kong plunged to touch a 14-year low on Monday as President Xi Jinping, I just like saying that, Xi Jinping consolidated his power, sparked fears about the prospects for recovery in China's economy. The sell-off came after Xi secured an unprecedented third term as Communist Party chief on Sunday and filled his core leadership with team loyalties. That could signal a tighter grip on directing the world's second largest economy. The new leadership indicates more concentration in top decision-making procedure. Some investors may worry about the lack of checks and balances and risk potential policy mistakes evolve into major shocks to the economy. So basically he's saying, hey, when you are surrounding yourself by yes men who are afraid to tell you anything else because they could end up dead, maybe that could create a situation in where you're not really seeing all sides of the entire story, especially when it comes to economic decisions. And this authoritarian style might not be best for the market. At least that's how the market collective is looking at it right now. And we're getting quite the hit. The Hang Seng Tech vomiting right here tumbled 8%, lowest on record. On top of that, they now just gave us their GDP number, which I find to be particularly odd. It came in at 3.9%. They were expecting 3.4. I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a second. Remember how they're like, oh no, the only reason they're not giving us their GDP is because they have this other party going on. And that's basically when he decided he was going to be the supreme leader for the third time around. But now they gave us the GDP number and it came in at 3.9%. When it was expected at 3.4, in my humble opinion, this is a bold-faced lie. The story itself seems too weird. If it was truly 3.9, you would think that that's something that they would want to report right when the world thought it was going to be reported, especially when he was attempting to keep his power for the whole third term. This is a piece of positive news. So why did they wait until now? And my thesis of it is they waited until now because it's a lie. It's the opposite of a truth. China's oil imports from Russia surged 22% as refiners step up their purchases of the cheap supplies. we've just been speaking so much about black gold here, and I just truly find it fascinating. And if anything, it makes me more confident in the callouts that we've been doing recently, particularly through Oxy, OXY. Not only investing in it, but also we did the put credit spread. And then if you were in the super secret cult meeting last night on locals, which you can join up with free, that's in the description, we did a whole nother Oxy call out, and I think all of them are going to crush. Chinese refiners ramped up their purchases of Russian crude in September, sending imports surging over 20% year over year. So as the whole world's saying, maybe we shouldn't be doing business with Russia, China's like, oh no, cool, we'll do way, way more. And it's for very good reason. It's because they're getting oil for dirt cheap. Since Russia invaded Ukraine, importers in China and India have snapped up Russian oil, which is being sold at a steep discount as Moscow seeks to out new buyers and Western sanctions. Russia's flagship crude was selling at $23.92 below global benchmark Brent crude as of last week. So almost a $24 discount, which is almost a 25% discount when you're basing it off of the current price of crude. Ridiculous. I mean, from a pure finance standpoint, you know why they're doing it, but it also, I guess in my interpretation, is a representation of how tenuous our relationship here in the US is with China. Kind of like keep your friends close and enemies closer type of a deal. Moving over a little bit, Boris Johnson exits race for UK Prime Minister, and now the pound is going up. So Boris Johnson used to be the PM, then it was Liz Truss, and then she just stepped down last week. She resigned, and everyone's like, whoa, Boris might be back in the game. He was one of the top 3 people, but it looks like the guy who really had the best odds will become the next PM. Rishi Sunak looks set to become Britain's next prime minister. Most people are expecting it to be announced today. We were told that it will be definitively announced by Friday of this week. But once again, it does look like it's going to be announced today. The other person who could potentially be picked is a woman by the name of Penny. I always butcher her last name, so my apologies. But anyway, Rishi, he was a previous chancellor. He was always the leading guy, and it looks like the leading guy will be selected. Now bringing it home to the US, as I have about 6 minutes to go. Just once again, from a seasonal perspective, please understand we're at the end of October, which is historically bullish. That doesn't mean every single October is going to have a bullish final week, but I just want you to know that from the past 2 to 3 decades worth of data, when looking at the end of October and really the end of the year, the final quarter, that is a bullish period, just so everyone knows. Here's why the US dollar may be closer to a peak than the market thinks, even as inflation rages and the Fed remains hawkish. So I want to talk about that, and we're going to get into more detail of what happened on Friday with the Fed and the dollar and the impact. So I just want to give you a little bit of a teaser, and also just so you know, right now there's a 94% chance of a 75 bips. So I've been covering this, but we're in the high 90s. So come, I guess, next week, next Wednesday, November 2nd, we're going to get the result of the FOMC meeting at 2 p.m. and most likely it's going to be another 75 bips. But the crazy movement in the world of bonds, yield, and the market is really because people are like, well, what's happening in December? What's happening in January? And it's particularly that January discussion that people got a little bit optimistic, and that's exactly why we saw a crazy ramp on, I guess, Friday into close. Rishi Sunak to be Britain's new prime minister's rival Penny Mordaunt drops out of race. Oh, well, breaking news right there. Sound the alarm, sound the alarm. We don't even have to guess about it anymore. Rishi Sunak to be Britain's new prime minister as rival Penny Mordaunt drops out of the race. All right. So he's replacing Liz Truss. The 42-year-old takes over as leader of the Conservative Party just 7 weeks after placing second to Truss in the summer's leadership race. Does not automatically become PM on Monday, as ritual dictates that the outgoing prime minister, in the case of Liz Truss, has first to tender their resignation to King Charles. So we have some breaking European news right there. Very curious to see how the pound is reacting. Let's check out the Euro USD first. Down a little bit, and then let's see how also down a little bit. So we'll monitor those throughout the day. When the bell does go dingity ding ding ding, after that, we're going to watch the market open. But I want to talk a little bit about the Fed, what's going on here. I have some stories related to Elon Musk that we're also going to be getting into. But I do want to call out right now at 9:45, we get U.S. manufacturing PMI and we get U.S. services PMI. 51.8 and 49.7 are the expectations, but these come out 15 minutes into market trading today, just so everyone knows. And also, please keep in mind that we are in earnings season. We are in the thick of it right now. After the market closes, I'll be paying attention to Logitech. And then tomorrow gets very exciting. We have UPS, GM, Coca-Cola. We have Microsoft, Google, and Visa. And then on Wednesday, we have Facebook and Ford and Boeing. And then on Thursday, we're going to get Shopify, McDonald's, Caterpillar, Southwest, Apple, Amazon, Intel. And then on Friday, we have a lot of oil companies, Exxon, Chevron, that type of a thing. So feel free to check this out on Earnings Whispers at eWhispers, or you could just screenshot this if you would like. 5 things to know before that bell goes dingity ding 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 today, Monday, October 24th. You want earnings? You've got earnings. We just kind of went over that. Xi tightens his grip on China. There's a very strange video of this guy sitting by him, and he's like awkwardly asked to come out, and he's like refusing at first at some sort of fancy schmancy event, and then he like awkwardly sucks and tries to talk to him, and he kind of like, it was, I feel like Taylor Swift's gonna write a song about it. Yeah, he definitely got, it was awkward. UK Prime Minister race sorts itself out. Rishi looks like he's going to be the next PM. US slams Russia over dirty bomb claims. We could talk about that in the wrap-up show. Hey, for all those of you who are watching right now, please understand we have more of a like kind of a formal official show at 6 p.m. tonight. Be there 6 p.m. wherever you're watching, whether you're on Rumble, whether you're on YouTube. Be there at 6 p.m. We'll be talking about that a bit more. Black Magic at the box office. Black Adam scored the best opening weekend for any movie since July with $67 million in the domestic haul, and it still has to recoup a reported $200 million budget, but strong opening weekend in the U.S., and I'll be talking about that. Oh, and one other thing. Yeah, the Phillies. Looks like the Phillies are going on, and hey, we're going to be diving into that too. So shout out to all the Philly fans. I'm sure you are excited. Now, let me very quickly drop to the 1 minute chart. The 1 minute chart, Baba is getting destroyed. Baba down 12%, just vomiting. It closed out the day at 72. Now it's trading at 63. We're seeing similar things with other Chinese-based companies such as NIO. NIO also vomiting down 11%. We have Baba down 12. On the flip side, just so everyone knows, Ape did very well on Friday, and it was doing well in pre-market. We're up 4.4% right now. Rum is actually also up a nice green 288. I wanted to kind of watch some of these China-based equities right out of the gate today. Dingity ding ding ding. The casino is open. So here is the plan. Everyone listen up. We're going to watch the market open for about 10 to 15 minutes. I want to talk about some other things as we're watching that play out. And then there's some other very important stories I want to get into because it might give us a better indication of where we're going in the short and medium term. I say that just because in the long term, I'm going to be a permabull. Like in the long term, I think it's silly to not be bullish on the overall market. But what is up for debate is the medium term. And what's also up for debate is very much the short term. All right. Okay. So the market's going. We're in minute 1. Remember, the opening bell is brought to you by Public. They are pinned to the top of chat. They're in the description of the video. If you want free stock, no payment for order flow, it's a brokerage you can legitimately trust. It has a cool social media aspect where you can see what your friends and family are invested in. You can see what people like myself are invested in, not invested in. Check it out. You get a free stock when you sign up, and depending on how much you transfer into Public, you can get up to $10,000 from them. Yes, you heard me right, up to $10,000. So you have no reason to not check it out. In the worst case scenario, you're getting a free stock. Worst case scenario. And then from there, it could get better and better and better. I have to admit, I've been with them now for like maybe a year and a half, at least a year, and nothing but positive things to say. Potatoes can grow to a height of 4.7 thousand meters. Well, that's crazy. Elon dumping, Tesla dumping. All right, well, there's NIO. We'll put Tesla there. We'll put NIO here. Please call out anything. If we see major movements, please call it out. But remember how we talked about the gap fill? The SPY has a gap fill to 374.80. Actually, here, that's actually 374.80. SPY gap fill. New gap down to 374.80. All right, I just want to post that on locals. We did talk about it a little bit in pre-market, but when you gap up like that, the gap fill plays, like, it's such strong odds. Not 100%, but the odds are so favoring that play that's exactly what I'm calling out. That's my main play of the day, a gap fill down to 374.80. We'll mark it out just so we all here. We'll put an alert just so we know if we're right. Add alert. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't blow our eardrums out. I turned the volume down a little bit, but that's what I'm calling out. We talked about it in pre-market, but just this concept of gapping up, gapping down. Whenever you do any like of the research into it, you'll realize that kind of like the way in a casino, the odds favor the house. In these scenarios, it is favored to get the gap fill. The odds, I've mainly done my own studies on it related to indices such as the SPY, the Qs, the Russell, something like that. The odds are still very good for equities, but when it comes to equities, well, you would want to do the research on the specific equity that you have in question. So for example, Tesla doing gap fills is different than Apple doing gap fills is different than whatever, Microsoft doing gap fills. So you'd want to do your own little study on all of those independently. Mullen announced its new vehicle to be delivered. Mullen is up 25.5%, but still trading below 50 cents. Mullen over the past 2 to 3 trading days has had a very good run. If you look at its daily chart, it's like a very ugly one. With Mullen, I do admit it seems to be a very solid active trade, something that you get into, get out of. It's for an active trader. Mullen is not something I would invest in. It's not something I would sit there and be like, okay, I'm just going to hold it until maybe it does or doesn't squeeze or something like that. That's not how I view it. I'd be very much quick with the trade. I'd be on my toes. I'd be actively monitoring it because it's a penny stock. Penny stocks are not something the average person should be messing around with. There are hyper successful penny stock traders, people who make disgusting amounts of money trading penny stocks, but just understand that those are few and far between. All right. What do we have? I remember being in high school in the 70s and told that CIA was going to slide into the Pacific Ocean any minute now and believe them. Sadly, the news has been mistaken. Yeah, isn't that the argument that like California is on its own like tectonic plate or something and it could like break away? Yeah, I'm down 85% on Mullen. See, that's the concept of like, I mean, it's not really a hard call out. Like if you just look at what's going on the daily, over the past one, kind of skip Thursday, but Friday was also good. Anyway, we're gapping up. Honestly, you could probably play the gap fill on this to 38 cents. Especially I see NEO getting crushed. I see Tesla getting crushed. Let me adjust this. Man, I mean, it is up a decent percentage of 21, 22. I guess my main argument for Mullen is if you don't already have a position, if you don't already have a long position, you shouldn't be chasing this. It is so incredibly disadvantageous to chase. It is up 111% in 3 full trading days and then the start of today. That is so silly to chase. It's just things are getting a little too hot. 111%. It doubled in 3 trading days. And this concept of like, oh, is it too late? I mean, if you're asking yourself if it's too late to chase a play, it's probably too late to chase a play. You probably should just not do that. Please remember in about 10 minutes, 9 minutes, especially people who were late for class, I want to point out we have some PMI numbers coming out at 9:45, which will have not the craziest impact on the market, but it'll probably have a little bit of volatility. So be prepared for that. 9 minutes out, 9:45. We'll be checking those numbers as soon as they come out. Can you check out T for T-Mobile? All right, so NEO is still vomiting, down 15%. not T-Mobile, AT&T. Did they buy T-Mobile? It's still independent, up 3.4%. Looking good. Let's check out its daily. Oh, AT&T has been on a rip, 14.50 up to 17. I mean, ever since October 13th, this thing has been not slowing down. Next major resistance is at 18 flat. After that, I'd be paying attention to 19. And then from there, you have a gap fill to like 20 and some change. But once again, wouldn't chase it. I like it. I admit it's bullish, but you want to get the position back in here right when it starts, not after it's been running for days and days and days. Think about it this way. The more something runs, the closer it is to being done with that particular run. So if I like this, if I'm paying attention to earnings, paying attention to what's going on, I'd be like, okay, wait for some sort of breather. You're most likely in the short term going to be able to get a better fill than 1773. I would not be chasing, especially when not long it goes off of 1450. It had good earnings. It beat on EPS and on revenue. So this seems to be a strong fundamental catalyst push to the upside. So I just wanted to I understand why this is going, but I still wouldn't just be chasing it. The SPY looked like it was shooting for that gap fill and then out of nowhere exploded $2.50. So let's see how this actually holds. Mullen not holding its early morning pop, but it can turn around the way Tesla is right now. AMC is break even. Ape is down 2.3%. GME is down 0.8%. Oh, very quickly, speaking about, hang on, what is this? Speaking about Ape, I want to, how many of you are still in Ape? Can you guys just comment Ape if you actively own Ape? I own Ape. I'm in Ape. You can see that I have Ape on public. I'm just curious. Ned is a live hater. Ned is alive. I'll take a picture of him and we'll post him out there. Ned is very, very much alive. Okay, so we still have some people in Ape. I was not really on social media over the weekend. And then late last night, early this morning, I was looking at social media. And I see that there is now people who are pushing the fact that Ape, what is it, within the next week or two is going to hit some sort of extraordinary value, like 75, 80, 100. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's this crazy call. How many of you have seen that? How many of you seen that? Sometime, I think it's people are calling out within the next 2 weeks, the next month, people with their models and that type of bullshit are calling out these crazy levels in the short term. I want to be explicitly clear here. They are wrong and they are stupid. That is exclusively being done to promote hopium and copium to get clicks because it makes people feel better, especially when Ape and AMC have not been doing well at all in the short term. This concept of it going to whatever, I think the call out is within 2 weeks, $80. Those people, they're wrong. I would bet any amount of money that they're wrong. It's just not going to happen in the short term. I think those people are liars. I think they are grifters. And I think when they are disproven, I think the community should be like, wow, you have no idea what you're talking about. And if you do, that means you're also then just a bold-faced liar. The reasoning for why this will not happen is because right now, Ape is being actively diluted. And also, to authorize more shares for additional dilution, there needs to be no shareholder vote. As in, if in some miracle world it keeps going, they're going to sell to it. And if it keeps ripping and they're like, whoa, we could raise even more money, there is no required shareholder approval to dilute Ape more. So they're going to authorize even more shares and sell them to the market to raise more money. Because don't forget, AMC as a company has over $5 billion worth of debt. It would be financially stupid, absolutely, from a business strategy or from whatever type of strategy you want to discuss, for the leadership team to not dilute it. If it's we're at 56 right now, even if it 10x's, it would be really incredibly dumb for the leadership team to not take advantage of that, to not only pay off their debt, but to raise even more money to do whatever, to acquire other companies or to whatever, do this project or private equity deal or reasons X, Y, Z. It doesn't matter. they need money, not only to pay off debt, but even if they're in the scenario to pay off all their debt, to take advantage of that even more and leverage it to, once again, remember the leadership team, their goal, their only goal is to not produce a squeeze. Their goal is to improve the long-term viability of the company. The leadership team of AMC, like, quote me saying this as much as you want, does not give two fucks about the squeeze. That is not their job. That's not what they're employed to do. They don't care about it. Their goal, their exclusive goal, is to make AMC as strong as a fundamental business as they possibly can. In this scenario, if APE were to go up, they're going to dilute it. We know they're already actively diluting it. Read the SEC filings. Also, if you read the SEC filings, you'll realize that they could authorize more shares to be sold to the market without shareholder approval. So in the event that it starts to go up, they're going to sell to it. So there's going to be more supply. So there's going to be more selling pressure. The chance of these call outs, I don't even remember what they are because the people calling them out have never been right about anything. They're hyper uninformed people. They're calling for these extraordinary levels, and they are like doing a Simone Biles level of mental gymnastics to avoid any form of logic. They are grifters. They are charlatans. They have no idea what they're talking about. And they're basically just people who they, I guess, would rather get a couple more views, a couple more likes, even though they're just like selling bullshit to the public. They don't know what they're talking about. Don't trust them. And you don't have to believe me either. Please do your own DD. Please look into it. I'll send you whatever resources you could possibly want. But a simple understanding of what the leadership team's trying to do and the recent SEC filings telling us that they can just dilute it until basically the total numbers up to 5 billion APE if they want to, which I don't think they're going to do that. But they could theoretically go up to that level. Why would they not take advantage of the situation? It simply does not make sense. The people pitching this, they're dumb. The AMC leadership team, not dumb. Two very, very different things. So dumb. Dewey, the filing doesn't say they've been put into the market yet because that's not, you don't do that. You do a filing when you're completely done. And also we know from Adam Aaron's tweets that they've been doing it because that's how they paid off the $106 million part of the debt restructuring. It was $506 million. They paid off 106 and they kicked $400 million from 2023, the maturity of that, down to 2027. So yeah, where did the $106 million come from? It came from them selling APE. And in the craziness of APE exploding in the short term, there's not only going to be an elevated price, but also a lot more volume, which is the exact environment you would want to take advantage of when you're trying to do an at-the-market offering. This is not something that is in any form like kind of logically up for contention. It's so straightforward and matter of fact, and the fact that people are like finding a way to like kind of break it down and discuss it blows my mind. Obviously the 945 report just came out. I don't know if this updates. So for manufacturing, we were expecting 51.8, which is growth, and then services 49.7. So let's check that out. Someone remember that 51.8 and 49.7. Let's see what the numbers are. Oh man, people spare no expense in the world of memes. No expense. Manufacturing was 49.9 and it came in 51.8. Wait, what? And then 46 point. Whoa, that is a big miss. Okay, so you might be thinking, why, when we miss this bad, would the market go up? Well, okay, if the economy's not looking so good, which this is a report that's like highlighting that, it means that maybe the Fed won't be so aggressive. Maybe they don't have that much of extra lease to be that hawkish on the economy. So once again, you've probably heard me say this like way too many times over the past month or two. Bad economic reports are good for the stock market, and good economic report, it's always the upside down. So bad is good, good is bad. Good economic, bad for the market. Bad economic, good for the stock market. This was a bad economic report, i.e. good for the market. Does that mean it's going to hold all day? No, it doesn't necessarily mean. It's just the explanation of why in the short term we saw this pop right at 9:45. Because the thesis is, okay, with a maybe not so strong of an economy, and I get it. If you listen to our government, they're going to tell us that, no, we'll probably avoid a recession. Everything's hunky-dory. What are you complaining about? Well, they're lying because we're coming up to a midterm election, and both sides just are doing anything they can to garner a couple extra votes. But in reality of the market, they looked at it. They're like, okay, the thesis is maybe the economy is not as strong as it's been pitched, which means that the Fed probably can't be as aggressive as they've been leading on to the public. And that's exactly why we saw the pop. Now, once again, to be specifically clear, does this mean that the pop's going to hold? No. I mean, it's only 9:47. We have a lot more trading to do for the rest of the day. Obviously, we have developments coming out of the UK. We have developments coming out of China. We have developments even coming out of the US. We are in the middle of earnings season. It's an infinite multivariate problem here. This is just one particular variable that had an influence for a couple minutes, and then we'll see how it plays out. Inverse Kramer and baby potatoes are also used to brew alcoholic beverages such as vodka, Pachin. I've never heard of those last two. Mullen higher highs, higher lows, broke 50 cents. Mullen is looking good today. Tesla, maybe a double bottom type of a setup. Probably had some bullish divergence here. Price action went lower. I'm guessing that the RSI was higher, and then we bounced right off of that. Yeah, look at this. Price action lower, RSI higher on those same relative dips, and then that led to a bounce. Interessante. We have rum that's up. Rum's looking good today, up 2.8%. In fact, rum is the biggest gainer on my watch list right now. Tesla getting smoked, down 4.87%. Ape getting smoked, down 7%. GME down 2%. The whole ape thing that I saw over the weekend and then right away down 7%, I just find it so heartbreaking because I know people are following them because they like the hopium, they like the copium, people like to be told the things that they want to be true. And it breaks my heart because in this particular scenario, the thing that people are liking to hear, it's wrong. They're wrong. They're stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. And then it leads to this. Like, I guarantee there were people who saw that stuff over the weekend and they're like, oh, I read that title, or I just arbitrarily believe that guy, so I'm going to YOLO into calls, or I'm going to buy more. And then instantaneously down 7.5% on a thesis that held no water, absolutely no merit. Please, before you do anything, do your research. And I beg of you, don't arbitrarily follow someone on social media. If your opinions happen to align, great. But if they don't align, you have to be in charge of your own money. Do your own research. Just because you heard or read something on the interwebs, especially from a content creator, don't do it. That is a recipe for disaster. And I say that well knowing that I'm a content creator. Don't arbitrarily follow me. Do your own research. Does my trade and my thesis make sense to you? Great. If it does, have at it. If it doesn't, maybe ask questions or do more research or even straight up bet against me. You gotta be in control of your own decisions because you never know if that person, are they going to stop? Like, I mean, people quit from the community. They stop making videos. Like, there's so many things that could go awry that you have to have the confidence in your own place. And if it seems a little bit questionable to you, if it seems a little suspect to you, just don't take the trade. It is completely fine to sit like on your hands and just not take the trade whatsoever. Wait, Fuji, 178% in the past 3 months. Fuji, what were you trading? What are you guys talking about? Wild. I make it a point to comment on every video that he's wrong, and I'm still waiting for a September new all-time high. He just always pushes the goal out further. That's how it's done. I mean, hey, we could come back to this video. It is October 24th, 9:51 in the morning. This is how it's done. This is their playbook. You call out something that is very optimistic. You pump hopium and copium into everyone's ears who's listening to you, everyone's eyes who are reading your tweets or your Reddit write-up. And that makes people feel good, so you get more positive engagement. And then what you do is when your call out, as it always does, is end up proven to be wrong, when it's erroneous, when you can't do the most basic breakdown of markets and finances or anything like that, when eventually what you called out does not come to fruition, it's always like, no. Well, it didn't just because of like XYZ. It is the endless list of excuses. And on that entire list, you'll never find, oh, I was wrong. You'll never, ever find that. It's always XYZ of like this thing, that thing, and also those things are just like jokes that they like pull out of thin air. And then they just wash, rinse, repeat. And then people watch it and they're like, oh yeah, man, I agree with that too. Like we almost had him this time, if only. And then all of a sudden they'll do a whole new call out. And then that one doesn't come true. And then another list of excuses. And it's just this forever perpetuating thing. And it's you can't break that cycle. Or you can break it, but it's very difficult to break. But as long as you guys in here watching know to like, when you see bullshit, call bullshit out. When is it appropriate to shower cry because you're bad at stonks? Personally, for me, I find daily. Mean Street MMA. It's not just Rico. I want to be specifically clear. Is he on the list? Yeah, obviously. Guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's pushing bullshit. Like he's a sad human. I read those tweets over the weekend. I truly hope he gets the help that he needs. That's like, to me, when I read that, that's like we're reading like a little bit of an insight to someone who's mentally spiraling. Like it's not a positive thing. That's a human who needs to talk to someone. Absolutely needs help from someone. So I hope a family member, a friend, a fucking therapist, I don't know. But also it's not exclusively him. There's a lot of people. Are you talking about me, Kevin, and Stockmo? They live to make excuse. I know who Stockmo is. I've never had any personal talks with him, but I have nothing negative to say. And I like me, Kevin. Wait, John, David, John. I guess I need like a particular example, not just in general. Everything, I don't know, Stockmo was a guy who like his whole YouTube channel took off way, way before mine did. Like, I think he's very, very big. Matt is the cap daddy. I can only imagine trying to explain that to people who maybe are their first timers to the stream, and you're like, what the fuck is this gap daddy stuff? Potatoes can be used as an adhesive in the textile industry. Neo's tanking. Yeah, a lot of Asian-based companies right now are getting slaughtered. So you have Neo down 19%. It went from 10 this morning down to 9. Wow. Another 10% after gapping down. Baba down 15.9%, 16%. Baidu down 18.6%. This is all the continuation of the fears of what's going on with President Xi Jinping. What's up with the Voyager case? So I believe FTX had the leading bid, but now it still needs to be approved by some sort of like judiciary committee. So from there, upon final approval that the bid's allowed to go through, then we have to wait and basically listen for what FTX decides what it wants to do. So that it's a game of waiting right now in Voyager. And if you are on Voyager, I'm right there with you. A lot of my Bitcoin, almost all of my Bitcoin, not almost all, a lot, like a very disgusting amount of my Bitcoin is locked up on Voyager, could be potentially gone, and a little bit of my Ethereum. Fortunately, most of my Ethereum was staked on Coinbase, which thus far seems to be good. And also, fortunately, I was able to avoid the whole Celsius debacle. So the main thing right now, and it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars, like I'm just stuck there on Voyager, and I'm hoping that it'll play out well. What will happen with the shareholders in Voyager? most likely you'll get nothing. If you own Voyager stock, you'll most likely get a very, very minute amount or absolutely nothing, because in the way people are paid off in these types of scenarios is like your equity holders are the last people to get paid off. It's kind of inverse. So you're going to have like your debt holders and like creditors get paid off way, way before, and they simply just don't have that much money to pay people off. Matt, the smoothest pumpkins on this side of the Mississippi. Keeping potatoes in the dark for too much time can make them poisonous. Sudden fungus disease in Ireland between 1845 and 1849 caused the starvation of around 1 million people who relied on potato to keep them alive. What the potato gives, the potato takes. Mullen looking good, continually making higher highs, higher lows, strong. Same with Rum is up 4.4%. Oxy's up 1%. Oh, who's in Oxy with me? Matt, Oxy is ripping. What's your average? My average is like 68 something, I want to say. But also we're crushing it on Oxy with the and I don't know who did or didn't take them or how you styled it, but right now I've been actively trying to pitch everyone the concept of Oxy put credit spreads, so working even better. With Voyager, the latest thing that we potentially get 70% of the investment back. I mean, I don't want to push that narrative because 70 when this all happened, I started to talk to bankruptcy lawyers, and that number 70 seems extremely high. It could happen. I mean, theoretically, you could get 100% back. It's just a rarity, so I don't want to necessarily like push optimism when it's like counter the pattern that bankruptcy lawyers have seen. So with that, I'm a little hesitant because I mean, I would love it. 70 is great. Like my mind is quite a bit on the other spectrum right now. So I guess I'm hopeful for the best, but I'm definitely preparing for the worst in this scenario. But it all comes down to really the powers of the leadership team of Voyager and FTX and what they decide. It's not like we can actively do anything right now. We're just kind of sitting around. When is election season? I believe it's November 8th, right? Is that? Hey, man, I'm in oxycodone. If you could, would you spud? Could, spud, if you could you spud? I'm in Oxy, Rum, Tesla, BASA, ADM, AMC, SNDL, HGME, BLKD, Tilray, and a bunch of crap penny stocks. Hey, Van, and at CEI will be twinsies. How is CEI doing? This is another oil energy related play. I mean, you do have bullish divergence. So I don't like it because it's a penny stock. I do like the sector it's in. I am bullish on energy. And I also like what I'm seeing in the technicals. A new low in terms of price action, but also we have divergence in the RSI. So positive momentum on a newer, lower price. This is referred to as bullish divergence. So technically, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a pop. This is another play that in no way would I invest in it. I think it's arguably a decent active trade, and I mean active like you're paying attention to it. Remember, there's a big difference between swing trading, investing, and like day trading. And when I look at things like Mullen and CEI, that's something that I'd probably just be day trading if I wanted to. Matt, LOL, crap penny stocks. Matt must be short Mullen. No, I'm not shorted. I mean, I think it's like illegal for me to lie to you about it. I have no position on Mullen. I have no position on CEI. But like, people are getting offended as if I call it crap. What do you call this? Like, are you saying this isn't crap? If we go back from March till now, it's down 91%. Like, what is the logical defense of like saying it's not crap? Let's look at Mullen in the same time period. Down 83%. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a fine active trade. There's volatility in the short term. There's big percentage moves, but to be just like arbitrarily invested in it, thinking that this is like the best EV opportunity in real time, it's simply not. Like quantifiably, it is not. I hope if you're in it, I want you to make money. I'm in no way rooting against anyone, especially because I have no position. But in a weird way, I think you should interpret that to be like, I have no bias. I have no skin in this particular fight whatsoever. If you're in it, I hope you're making money. But that doesn't mean you should in one way try to like contort reality of trying to be like, no, it's good. Like it literally just made an all-time low not long ago. It made an all-time low on Tuesday, October 18th. And you guys are saying, oh, no, this is solid. Like it just made an all-time low. I'm not short it. I'm just be realistic. And I definitely wouldn't chase it now. If you already had a position, great, ride it out. I want you to kill it. I hope you make a crazy amount of money. I would love for you guys to be sending me DMs of, dude, I made however thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions on Mullen. Like I would applaud you. I want that to happen. But don't at this point say, oh yeah, no, this is the time that like everyone should get in because of XYZ when you're distorting what XYZ is. Like you're saying people should get in because you're already in. That's the argument. It's just already moving. It's long-term and its medium-term charts suck. Absolutely suck. I mean, look at this. This is, I mean, the amount of reverse splits that they had to do. This is a company that its stock, just its price action is telling me that it was like kind of a failing company. And could it turn the ship? Could it get a new direction? Without a doubt. Could it get acquired? Without a doubt. All that stuff is theoretically possible, but I think it's a little bit disingenuous to act like this is the best like EV opportunity of like the day. It's just not. But the argument is it's releasing a vehicle. That's already announced. That's priced in. It's already there. If you know it, that definitely means all of Wall Street already knows it. If we're actively talking about something, that means Wall Street already knows. It's already baked into the price. Like it's there. We live in a day and age of when there's not only information corruption, as in like Wall Street finds out before us, but also when it is publicly announced, it's so quick on Twitter and Reddit and YouTube and Twitch and Rumble. And like the list just goes on and on and on that by the time something's announced, it's priced in like not automatically, but borderline automatically. Pop quiz on Friday, open book. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Brendan knows what he's talking about. Matt, do you still get people sending you stuff in your P.O. box? No, because so I was in Philly and that's when people were doing it. I was in Philadelphia. And then from there, I moved to Virginia Beach for like whatever, January, February, March, April. I was in Virginia Beach for a bit. And now I'm back in Pennsylvania and I'm only here for a little bit and I'm about to move to New York City. So I'm about to be in the Big Apple. So once I get settled, it's just because I've been moving so much lately. But when I get settled in New York, I will get a P.O. box that people can send stuff to. And then we could do like unboxing videos and whatnot. And also, hey, if you're in New York or near New York, we could totally do like a Texas Roadhouse meetup, a Dave and Buster's meetup. Here comes Gap Daddy. Here comes Gap Daddy. Do it. No. How close was it? Anything to mess with me. How low did we get? We got to 85. Thus far is off by 5 cents. Speaking of reverse box splits, can you take a look at MNMD? I like the business of psychedelics long-term, but not sure of the company itself. All right, MNMD. I'm going to write that down and I'll come back to it, Camille. I promise. I just want to watch this Gap Daddy fill. And here we go. Nope. You're welcome. You are welcome, all my little ducklings. There you go. Gap Daddy wins again, actually, and all this stuff. Sign up for Locals. This is the stuff that we put out for free on Locals. On Locals, it is free to sign up. Sign up right now. Sign up. There is also a premium version that's $10 a month. Obviously, you can choose to support me, but by no means is it required. There's a free version, and then if you want that premium version for free, just put in the code MOONGANG. The code MOONGANG, all one word, will give you the premium version for free. But for example, this was literally the call out. Spy Gapville play, new gap down to 374.80, posted half an hour ago, and it crushed right there. So I post my trades, my thoughts. We do super secret cult meetings on Sundays. You guys can post your trades, your thoughts, your memes, ask your questions. You can engage with each other, do whatever you want. But this is kind of the place for us to go, especially if we get taken down. I mean, I've been taken down multiple times before. If you're silenced on YouTube, if you're silenced on Twitter, this is a place that literally, like, the way this website works is they give you the entire email listserv, so they can't just cancel me. Well, they could cancel me, but I still have access to the entire email listserv. So no matter what, if you just want to be part of the Moon Gang like community, where no matter where I end up going, if I get silenced or not, at least I have a way to reach out to you. So that's just the quick pitch for locals there. But all right, we did that. We got the gap fill. You're all super, super welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Is AMC about to merge with another company? The amended AK file suggests that. I haven't read the amended 8K train, so unfortunately I can't comment on that. Let me write it down though. AMC amended AK. Well, also A train, we can look into that. If you could just tell me like the page number. I just don't want to like waste too much time finding it. But if you can tell me the page number, we can look into it right now. I doubled my stake in rum over the last week. Last week I did far more than double my position on rum. When are you having Andrew Tate on? I would totally talk to him because I'm supportive of being able to interview anyone. Whether you guys agree with them or disagree with them, the whole point is to have a conversation, to pollinate ideas, and to, when people are wrong, you should let them explain their idea and explain why you think their opinion is wrong. This concept of like, I don't think I agree with a person, so they shouldn't be able to speak at all. Is there a chance that Andrew and I would get along in person? Probably not. I don't think so. Like, I just don't think the way he views life is the way I view life. But that doesn't mean you can't talk and try to understand where your differences lie and maybe understand where your similarities lie. I think that's just kind of part of being a human, like the ability to talk and share and communicate, and then you just kind of walk away when it's done. But I've never spoken with him. I have no direct connection to him, so I don't think that'll be happening anytime soon. You're an alpha, Matt. Yeah. A guy who admittedly cries in the shower on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day if I'm really feeling it, if I'm really in my feelings. All right, there are A train. If you know that page number, happily going over that. I said I might consider 70. Wait, 70 and what? Area 52. Are you talking about Oxy? I told my broker to stop offering me 1020 for DWAC. Oh, for DWAC. DWAC is kind of interesting just because of not really the true social side of things, but more of like the actual SPAC side of things that definitely needs to get figured out. Host a debate with Andrew Tate and someone opposing his views. I cry directly into my White Claw so I can drink my tears and double down. I like that. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Matt would find he isn't that different as he thinks. I mean, I understand that a lot of it is for social media. Like, obviously sometimes it pays to say bombastic things because it gets engagement, it gets views. Like, that is a skill set. Like, how do you think Jake Paul made his career? He did it by saying like over the top and doing over the top things because it gets people to talk about it. Content creation is not far off from that saying of no PR is bad PR. Like, just PR is PR. If people are talking about you and like doing that type of stuff, typically it's very good, and it just makes you even bigger and bigger and bigger. The best thing in terms of content creation, the best thing that could have ever happened to Andrew Tate is that he got canceled. He got canceled, and it made him bigger than he's ever been, to an extraordinary degree. So if we're looking at it exclusively through the lens of business, not only on social media, but I believe he has other business ventures, the public, or whoever, not all of the public, but whatever portion of the public attempted to cancel him, talk about a spectacular backfire. he now, I would be willing to bet, makes millions of dollars a month more. I don't know what he was making beforehand, but now I'd say the minimum line is millions a month that he is personally making. And that's all thanks to cancel culture. They tried to cancel him and it blew up spectacularly in their face. And now he is probably making 7 figures a month. And on the big months when it first happened, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 8 figures. Matt is a Toyota Corolla guy. Damn straight. I've had 2 cars in my life. In high school, my parents let me drive their truck to school, and that was a Toyota Tacoma. And then when I got to college, I got a Toyota Corolla, and now I have another Toyota Corolla. So drove my parents' Tacoma, a little guy. It was fun. That's actually how I learned how to drive manual. The first couple of days of doing that, I think I still have neck problems from the amount of whiplash I gave myself when I was 16. But then from there, Corolla through and through. When you get a muscle car, maybe when I have muscles. Isn't that a prerequisite to have a muscle car? Is you have to be somewhat muscular? You can't be like a scrawny little twig. That would be funny. You get to a Ford dealership and you're like, I'd like a Mustang. And they're like, all right. And they make you bench your body weight or something. Matt Kohrs, you got called out by Roaring Rico on Twitter. Yeah, I saw that from over the weekend. It's just, I guess I don't really care. People sent it to me like, did you see this? Did you see this? I mean, look at it this way. That's a grown man who is complaining when I unfollowed him. One day I just went through a big Twitter purge of people who tweet things that I don't need them cluttering my Twitter feed. I just don't care because what they tweet, I gain nothing from it. I don't learn anything. I don't laugh. So he was one of the people that I'm like, why am I following him? If anything, I was learning the opposite of what to do. And that's a grown man crying on the internet that another grown man wasn't following him. It kind of has almost a weird ex who's then become a stalker type of a vibe. It kind of makes me uncomfortable. I just don't get it. Who the hell's Rico? Exactly. I thought muscle cars are for guys with little peepees. Oh, well, maybe then I can get into it. Maybe they'll give me a pass. Did your fantasy football team do this weekend? You would ask that. Not well. I had such a great start. I had such a phenomenal start, 5-0, and since then it's been going downhill pretty quick. DWAC has left trying to destroy it, but Rumble and DWAC will do great once it de-SPACs. Well, Rumble's already de-SPAC, but DWAC is the SPAC, and that business combination, that business partnership between True Social and DWAC, unfortunately was not voted in the affirmative on, so that deal hasn't gone through. So in terms of the SPAC cycle, Rumble and True Social are in very different spots as of now. Were there weird things going on with the SEC? I believe Market Insider, maybe Business Insider, one of those had a write-up of kind of pointing out some funky things going on with the SEC and that particular deal. And then it's getting more complicated by the ever continuing legal woes that the former president Trump is dealing with. So whether they do or don't personally support him, it's a different concept to support a person, but then also maybe in their view, kind of protect their money. And with the legal woes, I think that people who are sponsoring the SPAC, I think got a little bit worried about that. You never know. I mean, even if you look at the news over the past week or month, quarter, crazy stuff is happening all the time. Most likely within the next couple days, Twitter will probably be in the hands of Elon Musk. Imagine me saying that 6 months ago. How crazy. So I don't like to really necessarily speak in these absolutes of like, oh, it will definitely happen. It won't definitely happen, especially when it comes to the market, just because I think we live in this time of like heightened volatility and craziness and insanity. So to like discount anything as 100% possible or 100% impossible, I just don't think it's really appreciating the like craziness that we've all recently lived through. Tesla is bleeding. We'll throw up Tesla over here. Ooh, Tesla, is it going to go sub 200? It's at 230. What was that call out on Tesla? The Tesla degen call was 230 by 232.5. So that one's already printing big money for October 28th. For those of you, I know Steve was definitely there. I know the mods. I know Cootery was there. I know Chaos was there. I know actually a lot of you were there. But on the cult meeting stream last night in locals, that was the degen play. Tesla, October 28th, 230, a credit spread, 230 by 232.5. So that one's already like paying off big. So the degen play is looking, if you look at Oxy's green on the day. That was the second play, November 18th, 65 by 62.5. That one's paying off. And then the other one is a little bit longer dated. And the plays that I'm talking about, more than happy to discuss them with you and explain them in a little bit more detail. But that's really what we do the Sunday night cult meeting streams for. Netflix farther out, December 2nd, but looking at 340 by 350. And obviously today with Netflix being down 3%, like out of the gate, that one's quite a bit of time. So I can't say it's like confidently locked in right now just because we do clearly have more time. But hey, good omens to get started with, I would say. I drive a 1974 Chevelle Laguna S3 and a 1980 Turbo Trans Am. My Mullen calls are up 800%. I hang low. I drive a 2015 Toyota Corolla that's missing a mirror because someone sideswiped me in Philadelphia when my car was parked. And I woke up one morning and the mirror, I just never reattached it. So I feel like we're in the same situation, kind of. Also, on top of that, just so you guys can better picture my car, whenever you live in Philly for longer than 48 hours, if you don't have covered garage parking, if you're parking on the street, which most people in Philly are just because that's how it's set up, in excess of 48, 72 hours, that's the time at which every single corner of your car gets marks on it from other people hitting your car. When you park in Philly, it is legitimately like culturally and legally acceptable to use hitting the car ahead of you and behind you to park properly. I've never seen it before. It's insane. But yeah, if you're there for like an extended weekend, by the time you leave, every single corner of your car has marks on it. It's just how Tesla is. I've seen no less than 8 Corollas the same color as mine with the same side swipe damage as mine. Philly has the best potholes in the nation. When am I moving to New York? In not this weekend, but next weekend. I think I'm moving on November 5th or the 4th. I don't know. Whatever that day is. That Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Speculation on how/why ape drops 15% in 5 minutes. I mean, that's the market. This is the same way Baba is dropping. It's the same way Neo is dropping. It's just people buying and selling. It's the same way that it can go up 15% in 5 minutes. If you have an issue inherently, passer bye-bye, if you have an issue with ape dropping 15% in 5 minutes, which that's high volatility, but we know it's a volatile stock. You should also inherently have an issue when it goes up 15% in 5 minutes. Or on Mullen here, I mean, this one went up 17% in about 20 minutes. Like, you can't have it both ways, or you can't have it one way. You have to have it both ways or no ways. This is the market. This is people actively deciding to buy. This is people actively deciding to sell. Remember, every single trade has a buyer and a seller. There's no such thing as just buyers or just sellers. For a transaction to go through, there has to be a player on the other side. If you're buying, someone has to sell to you. If you're selling, someone has to buy it off of you. So it's those two willing participants, whether it's a retail trader, a pension fund, a hedge fund, a big bank, a high frequency trader, whatever it is, there has to be two willing parties agreeing on an amount and also a price. So if they're agreeing on a lower and lower price, as in the buyer and the seller, it's going to go lower and lower. If the buyer and the seller are agreeing on a higher and higher price, it goes higher and higher. That's literally the axiom of how the market works. Tesla getting murked. But what if I buy my own stocks like from a different brokerage? I guess it would just be trading at whatever price you did, but it would be really difficult for you to particularly match with yourself. If you wanted to match with yourself, if you owned one shares in one brokerage and wanted to buy your own shares off of yourself, you would probably actually, the most realistic way to do that would be for you to create your own dark pool, only give access to your dark pool to yourself, and then do the trades on your dark pool that no one else has access to. Tesla briefly under 200. Briefly under. I understand what a market dynamic is, speculation as to why sometimes when stocks go up or down, there is a catalyst. In real time, I'm personally unaware if there was a negative catalyst of Ape this morning. It's down 9.7%. With Ape, if anything, I saw some positive news this morning, just necessarily for AMC, like Black Adam. It did decently well. Oh, I wanted to talk about that. How many of you have seen Black Adam? I saw it yesterday. And I have to admit, it was fine. It was nothing special in my book. Like, I thought it was an okay movie. I'm happy I saw it, but it's not a movie that I would rewatch. Like, for example, like many of the Marvel movies, which I think are comparable, or even in this one, like even the Superman movie, I would rewatch the DC Superman movie. Black Adam is just not a movie I would rewatch. It was fine. It had a lot of action sequences. The dialogue was funny at certain points. I thought it was a good story. I liked the twist in the story. I thought it was creative. I liked that. But to me, it was just fine. I give it like a 6 out of a 10. I'm not going to give away any spoilers. I wouldn't say it's terrible. It was mediocre. It was middle of the road, like maybe slightly better than middle of the road is how I would define it. Couldn't wait for it to end. It was the most horrible movie I've ever seen in my life. All right, I don't have that opinion of it. I thought it was a little long, but I would, like I said, like very much rewatch the Superman movie, but I would not rewatch the Black Adam movie. Neo down almost 24%. Jesus. Neo just vomiting. Tesla, EVs are getting kicked. The market's getting drugged with it. Better than Green Lantern. It's better than Green Lantern, at least. But in a weird way, I don't know now, though, because like now it's almost like a joke to watch Green Lantern. So Green Lantern is so bad, it's good. And Black Adam's not bad. It's just like, it's fine. So in a weird way, like I feel like I would rewatch Green Lantern just to laugh at how horrific it is. And Black Adam's not bad. It's fine. It's a fine, like, I don't know. Not every movie's going to be great. Not every movie's going to be awful. Not every movie's going to be fine. And this just happens to be one of the ones it's fine. Tesla, next level of support. Great question. It's coming up to one now at like 197, 198, and then the next one is 190 flat. So like, let's just call it 197.5 and then 190 flat. I guess because of how incredibly beat up this is, we don't necessarily need these anymore. Yeah, 197.50 and then 190 are the two levels I would personally watch. I'm not actively trading Tesla at the moment, but I am invested in it, and I've had Tesla for years. So if anything, the lower it goes, I'll just invest in at a better price. But these are the levels I would watch. We're about $1 off from my first support, and then the next support is about $9 below where we are right now. Coming back to you, Camille, talking about MindMed, MNMD. What did this go through? A reverse stock split. By the time you're going through reverse stock splits, that's typically not a good sign. That is not really met with too much optimism. Just from the surface level, when it was first really being discussed, that's when I knew their financials and what was going on, but I haven't looked at them in a couple quarters now. I know what they do. I'd have to admit that I do foresee in the future the blossoming business of, like, I guess alternative medicine is probably the best way to put it. So I like the field that they're in, but obviously the market has not been happy with their movement at all. In fact, we're not that far off from an all-time low that we saw back in March of 2020. Low. It's low. I wouldn't invest in it. I like the sector. The market is telling us that this is not the play to be in, especially with a reverse stock split. Reverse stock splits are rarely met with optimism, like rarely. All right. What else do we have? All right. So we did MindMed. We did Tesla. Speaking of Tesla, Elon Musk says SpaceX won't cut off Starlink in Ukraine even if the US government refuses to fund the internet service. The reason I'm talking about this is just because I've covered this story a little bit with all of you of how it was kind of weird. He posted that tweet when it was he was just sharing his opinion on the fastest way to end conflict and for conflict, more importantly, to not escalate. And then one of the diplomats, I believe the Ukrainian diplomat to Germany, or maybe vice versa, he's like, F off is my very diplomatic response to this. And then that was weird, especially because in terms of single donors, Elon Musk is by far one of the largest single donors in support of Ukraine. I mean, with he's giving them internet and it's costing him about $20 million a month. And the government was at no point like, oh, we'll step in. But anyway, so he was going to cut it off. And then after that, after the weekend, he almost thought about it. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I don't really care, which is still, I think an applaudable thing that he's like, okay, whatever, with the US or without the US government, I'm still going to do what I personally think is morally right here of really supporting the Ukrainian effort in terms of the internet. He definitely didn't have to, especially when there's representatives of Ukraine telling him to F off. I think that is kind of a unique situation here, but yeah, he basically said, I don't care if the Pentagon helps, it helps. If not, I'm still here. Tesla shares down 3% in pre-market after Elon Musk's EV firm cuts price of cars in Tesla. And as you can see, it's getting even worse on the day. Tesla currently down 6.8%. Tesla shares slipped in pre-market trade Monday after the company cut the price of some of its cars in China. China is on tilt right now between their overall economy, really specifically their real estate sector. It's just not looking good. Shares of the EV maker were down 3%. Now it's down almost 7%. And they went from cut to, I guess they cut it, not by the biggest percentage. It went from 280,000 yuan to 266. So now I guess it costs 37K in China. But obviously China in two different circumstances is a big thing for Tesla in the world of manufacturing, but also in the world of consumption. China culturally has a much bigger appetite for EVs than the US does on a percentage basis. So it's kind of like a double hit there that needs to be considered. And especially as we were looking at the HSI in China this morning, their market, and it's really being illuminated by Baba, selling off, Baidu selling off, NIO selling off. Obviously, EVs getting hit and Tesla's clearly the front runner in the world of EV that has a clear connection to China. And when you look at it that way, it kind of all quickly adds up. So we got these reports at 9:45. They were bad economic reports. So at first that was positive for the market. We saw that pop, but like I was alluding to, it doesn't have to hold. Like maybe that's what drives the market for like 1, 2, 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, but not holding. And right now the overall market is unfortunately not as strong as it was on Friday when it concluded. Overall, remember, there's still a 94% chance of a 75 bips rate hike. We have people like JP Morgan. President says a recession may be the price to pay to beat inflation. Market bottom not in yet. I find that particularly interesting just because if you're the president of JP Morgan, you most likely know what you're talking about, because I would assume to get to that level, you've dedicated your life to finance, the economy, and probably like a smart person, arguably a smart human being. Well, I still find it hilarious that our government loves to pull, I guess, what's the saying, the wool over your eyes and be like, no, we're going to avoid a recession. Like if you look at any of the White House commentary on it, they are still so hell-bent on avoiding a recession when people actually in the field are saying, what are you talking about? Like that just sounds crazy. Sounds crazy. The billionaire founder of Interactive Brokers, his name is Thomas Petterfree, a man that I personally look up to. And if you guys look into his story at all, I bet you would as well. Warns that stocks have another 20% downside as investors underestimate the impact a stagnant economy will have on earnings. Thomas Petterfree, the billionaire founder of Interactive Brokers, doesn't see the Federal Reserve succeeding in its goal to bring inflation back down to the long-term target of 2%. Instead, he sees the CPI having difficulty falling below 4.5. And just for, I guess, posterity's sake, the most recent CPI reading we have is at 8.2. But also, just so you know, we get the PCE report this Friday, the personal consumer expenditures, and it's related to CPI. They're very similar. PCE is actually a little bit more broad, a little bit more timely. But the reason we don't talk about it as much is just because the media doesn't shove it down our throat as much as they do the CPI report. The more likely scenario, according to Petterfee, is that they leave the Fed funds rate between 4 and 5%. It looks like we're going to a terminal rate of 4.5 as external pressure from the top to stop hiking rates builds. So this is once again coming down to politics getting in the way of potentially the superior economic, particularly monetary decision. According to Thomas, there will be an ongoing stagflationary environment, which is when you have GDP that's not growing and also high inflation, so it's not a good scenario. A period of below-trend economic growth thanks to elevated interest rates and above-trend inflation, literally what I just said. The U.S. economy is already in such a place with GDP growth dipping negative in the first 2 quarters of this year. A little bit of, I guess, additional detail on this. I just want to clarify that the GDP growth dipping negative, that's very much because of a trade imbalance and not necessarily a weak consumer base, at least not as of yet. And CPI is still at a 4-decade high above 8%. Investors are not accounting for the earnings hit that we will get from reduced demand. There will be a greater unemployment. I expect that a rise to 4.5 to 5%. Right now, I think we're in at 3.6, I want to say. So there will be less consumer spending, and that will result in lower earnings for companies. Once again, I want to bring this up just because this guy is truly a genius when it comes to the world of finance and the economy. So I just wanted to share his thoughts, but understand that his thoughts are not really everyone's thoughts. So for example, on Friday, things were really popping, and especially at the late end of the day. And I was alluding to this in the pre-market prep, but the reason things were really getting going on Friday is because of a New York Times article, a Wall Street Times or a Wall Street Journal article, and then also the Fed president of San Francisco, Mary Daly, saying some, let's say, more dovish things. The Fed's softer tone on a rate hike pause or pivot will keep the rally in the U.S. stocks going. So this is the concept, and really we have this saying, don't fight the Fed. So from January until now, the Fed's been very aggressively hawkish to fight inflation. That's one thing you can do to fight inflation is to lower demand, and they lower demand by raising interest rates. So these periods of like mid-July to mid-August and early September and kind of now, we've seen these periods where the market collective thinks and they get this idea in their head that maybe the Fed is about to stop, because that's the golden question. We know they've been hawkish, continuing to raise the rates. Now the golden question is when are things going to bottom out, especially because the Fed's like, okay, we've done enough. Now let's see how it goes. Well, on Friday, it was one of those ideas where the market collective was like, maybe what they're talking about now, particularly in January, maybe they're going to be calm then, and that's what the market was pricing in. They interpreted the Fed's tone to be a little bit more dovish than it recently has been. The last two times we saw this, we got a very stark reminder from the Fed that no, they're not being dovish, and then the market ended up getting crushed when they reminded us of that. Will that happen this time around? It's tough to say, but the last two times that the market thought the Fed was going to switch, they were wrong, and we ended up quickly selling off. The latest rally underlines our view that the market will remain volatile and investors should prepare for large moves in both directions. After softening of language from the Fed has the potential to drive a market bounce, as we have seen in recent days. But last week, two members of the policy setting FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, warned that tightening is starting to curb U.S. economic growth. If we have to increase the path of funds rate much more, it really does begin to weigh on the economy. This kind of whole discussion of like Volcker back in the early 80s of it was a Fed engineered recession. And they're saying, hey, we might have that again. If we keep pushing down on the economy to dampen demand, you might push a little bit too hard. We have to make sure we are doing everything in our power not to over tighten, and we can't pull up too fast and say we are done. So this is from Daly. She was speaking on Friday. Then we had the two reports, the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. Obviously, if you look at the market today, that is a pretty solid bounce after we got that gap fill and everything we saw. We might end up going green on it. It's possible. I'm just trying to do my best to report on what we saw on Friday and really the end of last week. And also what we're starting to see this week is the market is getting this idea that maybe the Fed is going to change its tune. Maybe it's going to be less hawkish, especially when it comes to January of 2023. Here's why the US dollar may be closer to a peak than the market thinks. So this is in the exact same vein of thought. The market is particularly the greenback market, the dollar index tracked by Dixie has been ripping higher and higher and higher. Just to let you guys know where it's at right now, trading at 112. It got as high as like 114, 115 in that region. The dollar, especially when you consider what's going on globally, is mainly being pushed by the Fed because the Fed has a lot of influence on the 2-year yield and thus the 2-year bond. And then that has a lot of influence on our money, our people parking their money in USD or some other fiat currency. Obviously, recently, over the past couple months, a lot of people have been making the decision to be like, nope, okay, all these other fiat currencies, they are accompanied by higher risk, so they would prefer to just exclusively be in the greenback, and that's why the dollar index is ripping. That's exactly why we've seen the sterling, the British pound USD pairing absolutely plummeting. The same thing with the euro USD. And then when you look at things like USD, the Japanese yen, that's been ripping. USD, the Chinese yuan, that's also been ripping, all because of the exact same situation. People are more comfortable in the greenback. The US dollar could be closer to peaking the market sink even as inflation rages and the Federal Reserve remains hawkish. It may make sense to overweight the experience of the mid-1970s to the mid-1980s when inflation was similarly high. Those parallels suggest it may not be necessary to see the Fed having eased substantially or inflation at the bottom of the dollar to peak, and that an earlier peak is possible once it is clear that the U.S. rate hikes may be approaching a pause, or if the Fed communication pivots credibly, even if U.S. activity is still slowing. So basically they're saying it doesn't have to be perfectly timed, as in we could see the spike in the dollar and we could see kind of a calm down with Fed's decisions before the economy and the market bottom out. It's one of these things that it carries quite a bit of momentum. It's not like so perfectly reactive. A lot of the time, it's fair to argue that we're actually using lagging indicators. So this could take a couple months to actually be felt in the way that it's intended to. In fact, investors started getting a taste of that on Friday when San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly said it's time to start talking about slowing the pace of rate hikes. It's that one little sentence that caused things to go crazy on Friday. And in all reality, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a continuation of it today. That is a big, big change of tone from the Fed, who has really been commanding where the market goes and where it doesn't go. So, I mean, today, yes, from a statistical standpoint, I think it was smart to call out that gap fill. We got the gap fill. And from there, just kind of leaning on, I suppose, the developments from Friday. Not the most ridiculous thing to see this bounce right now. Will it continue? Kind of depends on what the market really decides with China, what they're doing, what they're not doing. So it's going to take some time, but my major call out of the day was just that gap fill. And then other than that, I'm just sitting on those, like just conceptually, I still think the way to do this is these credit spreads. Just to clarify, I actually like some of those credit spreads, like for example, the Twitter one, I don't have all those credit spreads that I called out, just because some of them I was like, oh, okay. Like I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to share it. I wanted to give it to all of you, but I also wanted to clarify that it was like a little bit more degenerate than the other ones. Right. That's kind of the wrap up of the stuff that we didn't get to early this morning. Hang on, I want to throw up the SPY to see where we're at. Right now, the SPY is green. We're kind of maybe potentially bouncing right off of this trend line, which would be an interesting bullish development. If we continue to close above this trend line, that's some bullishness. Oxy slightly green on the day, and a lot of other things are kind of red. The SPY, obviously, rejection, support, breakdown, and now we're getting rejected against, once again, at this important level of 376, and we bounce off of this key support at 373 and some change. So we'll be watching that. NEO finally showing a little bit of life. RUM, unfortunately, just went red by about 3 cents. Tesla bounced back above 200, but maybe continuing still to the downside. All right, what else do we have? Nope, that's my recycling bin. Don't need that opened. Remember when I tried pushing Oxy when it was at 11? How long ago was Oxy at 11? I mean, that'd be a while ago, right? 11? 11? Last time we were in the realm of 11, it was November of 2020. That was quite a while ago. I mean, that's a great call out for sure. For sure. Is Ned in the recycling bin? No, Ned is very much alive. Well, today it's rainy, so he's probably not liking that, but he's by my sink. I look at him every time I do dishes. He's not dead. Ned is very, very much alive. All right, very quick check-in on the options market. Options market pretty much 50-50 on the day. Yeah, 50-50. So the options market's not telling us anything too special. In terms of big premium, someone was getting calls on Meta. I don't agree with that. I think Meta's going to fumble its earnings midweek. And then someone going long on Tesla as well. 210s, 1.22 mil for 4 days out. That is a ballsy degenerate bet. Tesla, 4 days out, 1.22 mil, betting on the 210s. Wow. And actually, speaking of that, more calls coming in on Tesla. Interesting. Well, that's really sad. Protesting to save the environment. Wait, are there more of these? Did they just throw glue into a sewer? Is that what we see here? Like, I'm going to glue myself and then throw it into a sewer. Perfect. Perfect. Moment transgender singer strips naked live on Channel 4 and plays the keyboard with her thing. A person explode. Wow. Well, that's wild. Makes you wonder what's going on in the world, doesn't it? Makes you have a couple questions here and there. Fam getting ready for futures. Did he just kick her food? For a guy that big, that's oddly flexible. Good for him. A 99-year-old man divorced his 96-year-old wife after being married for 77 years because he discovered an affair she had in the 1940s. Bulls and Bears united their views on BTC, simply hoping to hear those beautiful words. The market is volatile. I guess it's true. All right. Well, that's a little boring. So let's get out of that. Let's go back to this. All right. Now let's go back into, here's a hot take because of the odds that I want to, I guess, lightly get into. We talked about it. We talked about, if you haven't seen it, Morning Brew brought up a very fair point this morning. Oh, now an even better one. Over the past 100 years, the surest sign of an oncoming financial crisis has been Philadelphia-based baseball teams winning the World Series. The Phillies clinched a spot in the World Series yesterday. So, in 1929, the Great Crash, Philadelphia A's win the 1929 World Series, early 1980s recession. That's actually Volcker and all of that. Right here, they won the World Series. In 2008, we had a great recession, and then they are now in it again. So, to all my Philly sports fans or to my baseball fans out there, you think they're going to win again? And if you do you think our economy is going to crater? Because I feel like that's the fair discussion of the day. Is like, where is our economy going? Oops, did I mean to do that? Uh-oh. Hang on, I can't see what you're saying. I need to reload your commentary. Tesla shares down more than 6% to hit lowest level since July of 2021. I'm sorry, everyone, but it's worth it. Flags fly forever. That's hilarious for the Phillies. Flags fly forever. We'll take the hit. We'll take the hit. Flags fly forever. That's a good one. Mullen, not a Phillies fan, but I hope they win. How about those Chiefs? I can't really say anything about the Eagles because they had a bye this past week, but we can talk about Penn State. Honestly, an impressive bounce back. Penn State. I am a Penn State fan through and through, but I'll be the first to admit it. And I don't like Michigan. I legitimately do not like Michigan at all. Even more than like Ohio State. Like when we play Ohio State, I think, okay, cool. Like it's a rivalry. Like Ohio State is very, for many reasons, equivalent to Penn State. Like Ohio State is for Ohio, Penn State's for Pennsylvania, like very, very similar. Michigan's just different though. University of Michigan people just like, for whatever reason, they just think they're better. Like I legitimately have a problem with them. So with that being said, I do admit you guys look good. Like for me to finally admit that, I mean, Michigan's team looks really, really good this year. Like the differential in the teams that were put on the field between Penn State and Michigan is in no way represented by the score of the game. I believe at halftime it was like 16-14, which that was because we got lucky on like two just fluke plays that we capitalized on. The score should have been much, much different, as in more in favor of Michigan. I'm excited to see Michigan play Ohio State. I want to know how that plays out because I know Ohio State, I mean, they're pretty much always good, but they're also doing very well this year. Penn State plays Ohio State next week. Ooh, maybe we'll get lucky. Michigan is way better than Penn State will ever be. Ever be? I mean, for a bit there, Penn State was absurdly dominant. And then one guy caused it to come to a crashing screech. I personally like Trey, Rico, and Kohrs. You all have different perspectives on things, but it's dumb to alienate people when opinions differ. Oh, I agree, and I appreciate the support, but also you have to understand there's a difference between when opinions differ and then when people are like just factually lying, like based on just numbers, like something that is quantitatively like founded, when people are just lying hopium and copium. I mean, time and time again, they've been called out for lying because they've lied. They've said things that are factually inaccurate. That's not an opinion. Rudy's honestly, Rudy might be the only positive thing related to Notre Dame. I don't really get the Notre Dame like fan base at all. I feel like their fan base it's almost, in a weird way, it's kind of similar to Michigan. It's like a very much like a holier than thou, like a better than vibe. And I just don't get it. Like, I don't think Notre Dame's done anything. Like, they think it's so special that they're not in a conference. The amount of times I've heard like some drunk Notre Dame fan like somehow talking about it's like great and they're so special that they're not in a conference. Like, I just don't get it at all. YouTube chat worse than the U.S. economy. Rowing is great for shredding and works upper and core. Yeah, you know what's better than that though, Cootery? Is the stair stepper. And that's the way I do the stair stepper. It also works my upper and my core. So stair stepper for life. Stair stepper for life. If you ain't stair stepping, you're not working out. In fact, I'm to the point where I think I might exclusively do my shows and my streams from the stair stepper. Like, I don't even know why I'm in the studio anymore. What's the point of having an astronaut with a moon and a moon gang sign and ducks? That's not what you guys want. I know what you guys want, and I know you want to see me on the stair stepper. And that's the whole point. I'll stream as long as I possibly can keep stair stepping. Matt, you should watch the Manti Te'o documentary. Is that the one about how he was like not catfished? What would the word be when the person's not real? I guess it's catfish, right? Because it's like a person that you thought was someone else. And also, why do we call it being catfished? Are catfishes known for that? Are they the deceptive aquatic creature? Like, seriously. Like, is there like a bass swimming around and then all of a sudden they're like, what the fuck's that? Is that a painted turtle? And he's like, gotcha, I'm a catfish. Like, why do we have that saying? Like, I don't get it. Are catfishes deceptive creatures? I need to know. Stair stepper works my core because I'm hunched over, practically vomiting like a dying raccoon. I agree. They're actually very accurate. Catfish got a face only a mother couldn't love. Did you see Yellen saying to remove the debt cap? I didn't, but that's perfect. Why not run up our debt even more by making more fake money out of nowhere? Because that hasn't gotten us into any trouble recently. Because the first movie to describe such a situation was called Catfish. I did not know that. Damn catfish nipping at my toes. YouTube chat requires pants on dogs. Catfish are bottom feeders. But I don't think that's what we called the saying. Matt, congrats on being featured on TD Ameritrade Rum News. How'd you get on TD Ameritrade Rum News? News. I'm not gonna lie. When I search Kohrs and Christine Kohrs comes up above me, it's a little upsetting. High school football highlights. Well, that's not me. Colts take down Huskies. Also not me. Bison and Johnny's notch road wins. Yeah, I guess I'm just not important enough anymore. Or ever. Humbling moment. You can't win them all. Oh, jeez. Apparently some girl on Instagram and some football phenom at whatever small town are both more important than me. It was good. it was good for me to experience that. Let's be honest. I deserve to be taken down a couple of notches. Oh man. Matt, will you be partaking in Movember? I think you should grow a fuzzy caterpillar on your upper lip. It would probably look like awful. It would probably look so disgusting. I just don't. All I'm good at doing in terms of facial hair is growing a base. And then from anything beyond that, I'm just not. My genetic stars did not align for superior facial hair. I could just like barely pull it off. I could pull off the base, but that's about it. YouTube chat buys highs and sells lows. Not even shorting. I saved up for an elf and broke the welds within a few months. Chris, I don't know what you're talking about. Rumble chat is full of kids who were picked on in high school. Chat wars. The great chat wars. I honestly thought the chat wars were like a one day thing, but you guys seem hell bent on it. How does he not see himself mentioned? Chaos, help him find it. I'll find it afterwards. Rumble chat still has their crypto in Coinbase. Rumble chat doesn't know shit about potatoes. Ever wish you could turn off your facial hair growing? Well, what about the concept of maybe like growing it to a certain point and then just pausing it there? Haven't been on this chat in a minute. Is Matt still repping GME? I still have GME. Unfortunately, it hasn't been doing anything too positive lately. I'm still holding it. All of that's still on public. Like you could check it out. But when there's news to cover, I cover it. But a lot of the days, there's just not news to cover about GME. I think it'd be awesome, though, if it returns to being absolutely ludicrous. Those days were insanely fun. YouTube chat wishes they were on Rumble. Just let it grow. Have you watched Blazing Saddles? Not yet. Matt, look at the 1 minute video I sent you. I did lottery stocks. I feel like I've answered all those questions like on stream. Like I don't really like, to me, it's like repetitive content to answer those same questions again. I at least attempt to try to make like new things for like what's going on. Rumble chat buys UVXY and holds year-long positions. Like the disses are so much more interesting when it is like oddly related to a decent amount of market knowledge as well. Like to me, it's so much more funny. Matt's so high, he has 2 Tesla charts up. I didn't even realize that I did. Let's make one of these Oxy. I thought the other ape shares were dropping today. What do you mean the other ape shares? So they're being sold to the market, I believe, by Citigroup at the like appropriate time. So most likely when there's a bullish push to the upside, Citi will be selling into that. Their goal wouldn't be to sell to the downside because then they raise less money. Remember, ape being diluted, it's all an effort to raise capital because AMC as a business has over $5 billion worth of debt. Rumble chat throws temper tantrums when McDonald's runs out of adult Happy Meals. Oh, too funny, too funny. All right, teamity, team. That is pretty much it for this morning's breakdown of what's going on. I will be posting some content throughout the day, maybe later on today, but I will definitely be doing a post-market wrap-up at 6 p.m. today. 6 p.m. ET, be there. 6 p.m. ET, if you're watching on Rumble, I'll be there. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll be there. If you're watching on OnlyFans, I will be there. 6 p.m. ET. I'll catch you guys all there. We'll do a wrap up of everything that happened in the market throughout the day. And I'm expecting kind of some volatility for the remainder of the day. And then also what to look forward to the next day. And also maybe just like the hot stories that could have been missed. Obviously, we all have busy lives. If you haven't already, check out Public. It is pinned to the top of chat. It's in the description of the video. You get one free stock. You can get up to $10,000 depending on how much you transfer over. No payment for order flow, no market makers. It's a brokerage that, like, you know, actually cares about you, which is a refreshing breath, without a doubt. A refreshing breath of fresh air, a fresh breath of air of freshing breath. It's that thing. You know exactly what I'm saying. Anywho, that's what I have for you this morning. I'll catch you later on. I hope you have a beautiful day. Peace out.